Questions for reflection. In our first reading, we have a portion of the law given through Moses by the Lord to his people Israel. Remember, Moses has come down from the mountain with the 10 Commandments. Now, the very way of life is being explained. Israel, the people of the covenant, are to reveal God's love to all the nations in the way they live their lives. In choosing Israel as his people, the Lord intended to use them as his instrument to bring all nations back to him. He reminds them that they were aliens in Egypt, and he delivered them. They are therefore to manifest that same behavior of true justice to all aliens. Similarly, when they encounter the poor or lend, they are to behave in a manner which reflects their special relationship with the Lord. These admonitions continue now in the people of the new covenant, the church, the new Israel, grafted into the vine through Jesus the Christ, and empowered now to live this way of life. How do we treat the aliens or immigrants in our own lives? How do we view them? How do we treat the poor? If we follow the advice of David in our responsorial psalm, we will continue in a relationship with the Lord and be able to live these admonitions. In our second reading, we continue on in the Apostle's first letter to the Thessalonians. The Apostle, in the verse right before the first one, the Thessalonians were reminded that they were beloved by God and that they had been called and chosen by God. And now he reminds them that they had the power of the Holy Spirit to draw upon and the example of the apostles to follow. He reminds them that they had broken from worshiping false gods and were converted for a new way of living in Jesus Christ. Now, when we listen to these words to the early believers, we must remember they're just like us. You see, we've been converted by God's grace. We've been saved from sin and its consequences, death. Saved for a new way of living by the power of the Holy Spirit and an imitation of Jesus and the saints who have gone on before us. And here's the question: how are we doing? The Gospel appointed for today's Holy Mass is a continuation of the 22nd chapter of St. Matthew. A lawyer is trying to test Jesus on which is the greatest commandment. Jesus recites a portion of the great Shema of Israel, to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, and mind. In other words, the whole person. And to love our neighbor as ourselves. They could not refute it, though they clearly were not living it. That is evident by their behavior toward him. And so it continues. We all know this is true, but do we live it? When we direct our entire lives toward the Lord and serve our neighbors, when we forget about ourselves, we find genuine happiness. In order to do that, we need grace, God's divine life. He has given it to us fully in his Son, and it is mediated through his mystical body, the Church. How are we doing?